shared the audio while I was reading. This is a book which I have bought from Amazon, of course. And this book is a collection of stories, which is mainly meant for the learners of transactional analysis, which is again a positive psychology, which is not, the cup of tea for probably quite a few of you. So we are not entering into that psychological aspect of that. We are instead, we are having a very generic discussion, and it is difficult to have all the stories, or even I doubt we can have a second story discussed today. We will discuss one story. I'll just give a brief of that story. This is, of course, not a storytelling session at all. So I'm not a great storyteller as well. So it is like we will just, I'll share the basics of the story. It is like a fairy tale, but not a fairy tale meant for children. Fairy tale meant for adults, chronological adults, which makes us think. And of course, yeah, which makes us think quite a lot. Before getting into the story, let me just, let it be very interactive. Once I say the story, it's all yours. Your reflection is more important than my discussion. Um, uh, what is the importance, or what are the scope of stories, or especially short stories, which has been intriguing me since long time, since my college days. uh, the very basic reason, simple reason is that if you want to read a novel, it takes a lot of time. You'll have to spend time, you'll have to structure time. Whereas when we read a short story, the best part of that is that we can read the story in one go. That's a simplest logical reason for me loving stories. But beyond that, going deep into the experience of a kid, we live in the world of stories. Every children, uh, every children. Sorry. Hi, Swapna.
Recording in progress.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Uh, I was just sorry, really sorry. So short stories. When it comes to short stories, the idea of stories itself come from our childhood, and needless to say, there is something very great about each of our childhood. I don't know what you see in childhood, but for me, even when I look at my children, also they are, especially my younger child is a 5 year old. Say, at an age, say 3 to 5 years. Uh, Children are, I would say, children are just unconscious. They're not conscious. They live in the world, they live in the realm of unconscious. They are not so coordinated beings. They are not so coordinated with our own definitions of space and time. I mean, that's where the story become very uh, intriguing and interesting. Children are stories. Children are unconscious. So unconscious and the stories are deeply connected. Be it a grandma's tales, or Jedka tales, or Arabian Nights, or Hans and Andersen's fairy tales, or be it from any tradition. Stories hold a lot of significance in one's life because we all live the story of ourselves. We are not reading, we are not listening, but we are living stories. Each of us are, and this become more important when we are in our childhood, when we relate with our child within us. Because as we grow up, education, family, society, all those around us, all these systems actually coordinate us, make us put into a particular coordinated box where X and Y, there are more definitions coming in our life. Things become more defined. Things are always identified with this. Say, for example, if we see how we introduced ourselves, we all speak. We are tuned to speak. Where am I basically from? We can't get away from our geography. That is the space we occupy, or where our roots are. We can't deny that, and that has been always there. That is our identity. That eventually became our identity, rather. And we can't deny our time, although we are not introducing with age, but still we are so conscious about this time in a different level. So with this geography and history, the time and space, we are so coordinated that we forget the beauty of our life, which these stories sometimes bug us. I would like to say so. Stories bug us with this beauty of life, with this beauty of that unconscious being, that unconscious child in us. Unconscious, please don't take it, in a literal meaning. It has got wide range of meaning, which I don't want to dwell into because that is not our business here. And coming to a conclusion of what short stories, why it is, what is it is meant for. It is to simply jump into our unconscious, simply jump beyond our time space coordinates, beyond our critical filter. Those who are from psychology, probably you may better relate with this term, critical filter. Stories are hypnotic in nature. It just gets into our unconscious. It is a communication. When I am saying this, I am speaking to the unconscious of each of you and me. These stories communicate subtly to our unconscious. But then if we are all unconscious, it will again be a difficult question, because world will be sleeping. So there should be questions at the end of the story. These questions will bring us back to the reality. So it gives a better connect between our unconscious beyond identity self and the conscious identity self, which we bear with our body, with our life, with our surroundings, with the time we are in. So thank you for a patient listening. So I'll just give a brief of one of the stories from this particular book. And this book speaks about a lot of stories, which I have consciously chosen this story. Please don't ask me when it happened, where it happened, how it happened. As I said, this story has no time, no space. Long ago, long ago, I don't know when it happened. There was a there was a ruler. Let's call him Sultan. Let's call him Emperor. He was one of the magnificent. He was one of the most powerful rulers of that time, in that space of his kingdom. Please don't ask me the latitude and longitude of that. And that kingdom, a large kingdom, a country he was ruling, rather, a state he was ruling, where there were a lot of other ministers who are in charge of these states, or those provinces. Maybe you can understand with your country context better. They are, let's call them pashas, pasha. It's again coming from an Islamic tradition, from a different old tradition. So they are all ministers, or they are all knights, let's call them so. Otherwise, however, there was no decentralization of power, and this person, this one and only person, was ruling the kingdom, and he was the only decision maker. He makes each and every decision, uh, be it on the, what you say, education of a child in that kingdom. He makes the decision. You can't imagine to that extent, but still, naming a child, a newborn child, he makes the decision. So everyone are bound to his words. Everyone runs their life on his words. Everyone in that kingdom, including the ministerial, including these pashas, everyone. So such a fantastic, powerful king, and needless to say, the kingdom was in its greatest power and prosperity when he was ruling. He had quite a few children. Those times, there was no such, this thing like population control or whatever we call. He had a lot of children. So out of them, the youngest was this lad was very unique. Except for everyone, every other children, uh, ex- except for any other person in that country, this guy, he never listens to his dad. I mean, he doesn't think that dad is going to decide my destiny. Dad is not designing my moments. It's all me. So he had a different viewpoint, and uh, he used to kind of question whatever comes in whenever there is a rule. So people started, warning him, you be careful, guy. It's like your dad. Your dad won't think that you're his son, and then he will punish you severely. You may not be able to escape. So he was literally don't care. So needless to say that one day this boy was thrown out of his palace, and again, when he's thrown out of palace, it is literally thrown out of the country. No one will give him a job. No one will give him a glass of water. So he had a bad time where he had to leave the country as such. He was last seen probably in a wagon, in a moving out of the country, and no one else ever heard about him after that, seen him. However, uh, days went on, years went on. King became even more supreme because even his daughters started worrying, like, no one was daring to speak about the lad, about the brother who left, who was abandoned. And of course, one fine morning, the emperor got critically ill. The sultan got critically ill. A group of doctors were inside his room, started deciding, what sort of treatment will work for him. So one after the other, each and every pashas, I mean the ministers, got queued up to get his instruction for the simplest things as to what to do. So needless to say, behind all these pashas, maybe in a hierarchical level, you can see the whole kingdom started joining this queue, waiting for king's instruction. What should I do today? What should I eat today? How should I live? So all these come from the king. So the queue got, you know, longer and longer, miles and miles of queue, and the whole kingdom became a queue. The whole masses became queued up from the palace, from the room where the king was, where the emperor was fallen ill. And the doctors didn't allow the closest of the closest people. Doctors didn't allow the closest of the closest people to get king's advice on whatever they want. So literally the kingdom was in a standstill. There's no other option, there's no other way, because this is a necessity where the king decides each and everything in such a country. So it became worse and worse. Initially, uh, it gave business opportunity to people because they can bring in tea, they can bring in food. Those who were in the queue, they can have, and it became so inevitable that I can't leave my position in the queue. The queue, though it is, in an x-axis, if you could see, it was almost like y-axis, like hierarchical in nature. Children, pashas, those who are again closer to king. It just goes on like the remotest of the remotest person, uh, even not even able to imagine when my turn will come. Even then, they are in a queue where they feel this is a hierarchical queue. I cannot leave my place. If I leave my place, I'll go to the last. So it will be a sad thing. Hi, Pascal.
Hi Ajay. Yeah,
Thank you
continue
for
please.
joining. Yeah.
Just I'm late. Sorry. Okay.
Okay. So it became so. it became so sad to see that people cannot move around. They just really got caught up. They got grounded like trees or like plants which are planted in this line. No one wants to leave their space for any reason, be it whatever. That position, that space became so defined and so determined and so defined, so that they can't defy it. So at last these pashas, they had to come into terms with this reality, and they started discussing, being not in a round table discussion, being in the line. They started discussing, we have no other option, we need to do something, otherwise we will be blamed, we will be kicked, we will be answerable. When the king wakes up and asks one day, see this thing, we are the ones answerable, surely we will be caught up. Suddenly this discussion, this went on, and suddenly some guy in between said, let's have one option. This is the only possible option where we can get that prince who went long back, who was thrown out of the country, thrown out of the palace and thrown out of the country. Let us call him back. It will be a win-win situation. If that guy comes and does whatever, he doesn't bother even if the king gets outraged. And if he does some wonder and things get settled, there also we will get that credit, because we brought him back to the country. So this is then comes the next question: who will go and bring this guy from there? He's somewhere, we don't know, in some part of this earth he is there. If he is alive, who will go and bring him? Anyways, that went on for a few days, that discussion, and there's no other option but the whole queue. Just imagine, the whole queue is going to move in search of this prince. The whole queue. um, it's a reminder, Prema, please, towards the end when I finish the story, please remind me to tell you the name of the story, which I forgot initially, which I would have said in the start itself. Please remind me.
Sure, sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this whole queue just got took a U-turn from the palace. They started like a pilgrimage. You can imagine how it will be. They started moving towards a border, asking people around, wherever, whoever saw, wherever he has gone. And this movement is so terrible that they had to cross the rivers, the deserts, the forests, and reach to that long, far away place where the faraway place where the prince could possibly be present. So taking cues and clues, memories and stories, and possibilities, seeking all the possibilities, because this is the last resort. The whole bunch of people started going. So after covering so many territories, so many different terrains, finally they reached the place where the lad is, where the prince is. And very interestingly, they could meet the prince there. And the prince, then prince, now he's just a lad, was working uh, in a tavern there. And it's interestingly, he after a long journey, he got ended up in this particular tavern, which is besides a waterfall, a clear stream. Waterfall, it would rather be a clear stream where he could generate clear water. He was constructing an aqueduct, and for the house where he stayed, the parents and four daughters. So he got so closely knit with them, and these four daughters eventually, were like his own lost sisters who were in the palace. So he got so connected to them. He lived with them, and he started supporting the people around where there was a lot of problems with water, fresh water, giving fresh water, I mean constructing aqueducts, and that's how he lived, and that was his earning living. And with all these bunch of people, Pashas met the kid, and he was asked to come back, as to return in such a grave situation, to come and save his father. So, in between, one more thing is that he the in his work, he did this aqueduct for the mayor of that particular province, and that's how the mayor's son became his close friend. And mayor's son, he is proficient in using a particular musical instrument, called, actually I forgot the name of that. This is a new instrument which is almost like the Indian shehnai. It's a wind instrument. I'll just, if I could see that. And let me just call it a shehnai, with your permission, because I should remember the name of that instrument. It's an instrument, so it just he just got really good in that instrument, and he plays different tunes in that instrument, and these guys became so close, thick friends. And uh, the prince agreed, I'll come with you, but on one condition, he'll also accompany me, my friend. We both will come with you. Okay, fine, please come. And of course, I mean, you must be able to imagine the kind of masses they are going with. And this caravan started back to the uh, palace. You can imagine how the people are. They are well defined. Their movements are well defined. They are very, what do you say, uniform in their movement. There was a rhythm, how, as to how they walk. So whatever being done by these pashas, that is being exactly mimicked by the entire bunch of people. The whole queue moved in a specific rhythm. Whereas these two guys, they were not bothering about any cues, anything. They started, cracking jokes, singing songs, playing this swam. I think that's the name of that instrument. So, but of course, being so tuned, being so programmed, these masses, they weren't even able to turn their head to see what is happening with these two crazy guys, literally crazy, abnormal guys. So they caravan went back, and in between they had a lot of, they created a lot of stories. They um, discussed a lot of stories like what we do now. There were different tunes came in. There were different songs came in. So once they reached the palace, again everything is intact, in place. In the hierarchic order, you can see the whole queue got fit into into the previous place. So this king's son, the prince who returned, the supposedly prodigal son, he said, I'll stay in the start of the queue. He said to his friend, you stay back, you be the last man in the queue. They've had a whole drama programmed as to what to do. So this boy went to the friend, the prince went to the friend, and his friend went to the back of the queue, and he started playing this instrument there. Initially, of course, nobody was listening. He started playing different tunes, he started singing, he started dancing. So this rippled out to the masses, and slowly their body starts moving. So their unconscious rhythm started changing. Some of them even dare to come out of the queue and started dancing. So it was all a chaos. So he was as programmed, as planned. He was slowly moving his arms, playing different tunes, making this disturbance continue as he progressed towards the palace. So there was an agreement, of course, between these friends, and the prince is still there in front of, as he move on, as his friend move on with music, songs, dance, and interestingly, a few of them, they got really tired. Those who were in the last, they got really tired after dancing a while, that they forgot everything. They went back to their home. The whole rules and the whole what do you say? They did the biggest transgression, going back to home, deciding by themselves that I'll go back home. And it went on. Just these people, this guy with a bunch of people who broke the line, and then they went on towards the front, and somewhere towards the middle they reached. The prince who is standing in front, prince started, coming up with stories. He started coming up with stories of passion, stories of love, stories of, what you say, compassion, stories of uh, what you say, critical thinking. So this guy started coming up with a variety of stories. So as he moved on with stories towards the center, he moved back. People started accompanying him. So this story group is coming from one side, and the song group is coming from another side. They got, somewhere towards the middle, they got, merged, and it was all like chaos. I need not say, you can imagine what will happen there. Stories, dance, song, party. I don't know what all happens there. They were all out of this line. They were out of time. They were out of consciousness. They were all out of everything. They were completely with their being. Pashas got really, really annoyed. This guy is going to make a real chaos. He came and asked, "What is your plan?" Then he uh, asked, "Okay." Each of the pashas he called up, the prince called up. You have given a particular province, now go back to that place. Whatever you are assigned to do, you can start doing. We don't know what to do. I'll send people from those, but they don't know what to do. They know what to do. They learned what to do. They, and all these people were dispersed. They were sent back to their, I mean, pashas were sent back to their kingdoms, their, what is a province or Wessex or what you call it. So, and the prince entered into king's room. A pretty large number of people dispersed. They went back to their home. What is happening? Utter chaos in the kingdom. Uh, and prince sat near the dads. I mean, probably towards the head side, and the friend was sitting in front of him towards the legs. So the prince somehow woke up listening to this guy playing song, some beautiful songs. So the prince felt like I am died. I'm no more. I am in the heaven or hell or wherever it is. So he could see uh, somebody is playing a new instrument which he has ever seen. He hasn't ever seen some new music he can. So something is happening. And interestingly, he could see his son whom he abandoned. Oh, he felt so sad and so guilty. He started telling his son, "I'm really sorry what I've done for the whole life for you. I wouldn't have ever done that. I mean, I don't know. Now there is no scope for me. What I can do? If I were alive, I would have given me my whole kingdom, given you my whole kingdom. What else I can give? I'm really, really, really feeling guilty about what I did. So." Would you take my land? Would you take my kingdom? If at all I am a prince, if at all I am the king. So the child said, the prince said, he became so happy. The emperor is back, the sultan is back to life. So, okay, on one condition I'll take up. We will together, he and me will together rule the kingdom. And when we rule the kingdom, it is we who decide regarding the rules, and you won't be interfering. Okay, it's perfectly all right. And needless to say, after a while, King realized that he is not dead; he is still alive. It is his flesh only on his body. Everything is fine. what mistake I did. He couldn't, but those times you cannot skip your words. You have to keep your words rather. So he kept his word. These two people ruled the kingdom for so long, and songs, stories, reflections became the in thing of that country. Everyone got oriented towards this, and here ends the story. They all lived happy. Thank you so much. So, of course, as I said, stories made us all unconscious. Now, to make us conscious back, we need some questions. Prema, I got reminded that I requested you to ask the name of the story. Okay, name of the story is Two Snake Charmers. Let us start from there. Why these two snake charmers? Anybody would like to speak on that? Why these two snake charmers? I mean, I would have given a different story. Yes, Miss Rumi, you're speaking. Please.
Yeah. So, one snake is definitely king because he made his puppet and just.
Ma'am, if you could, mute your video. I think there is an internet issue. Probably you can have a. We can have a. Till
Okay.
the time you
Am I
speak.
audible now?
Yeah, it's fine. Perfect now.
Okay. So I just want to talk about one snake charmer that is definitely the king because he was like he created this reign of terror kind of thing, which definitely I would not like to stay in his kingdom at all. I mean, I would stay away from such a place where he was the delegator, he was the dictator kind of person who never allowed anyone to be independent, not even his own son. So it is just like the snake charmer. He the instrument with the charmer, the way the charmer, the person, the snake charmer, he uses this instrument and he moves it. So he wants the snake to go according to that motion, right? The snake doesn't have any particular mindset of its own mindset. Like if I, it's a neutral. So it is only according to his wish the snake has to move, even though it is scientifically proven that snakes can't hear actually, but it is the movement which helps the snake to move in the same order which the charmer wants the snake to move. So here the snake doesn't have any particular, it's not independent. So hence the king, according to me, is definitely one of, the title suits. Yeah. So I would just go by one.
Do you have any idea about? Would you like to speak about the second snake charmer, or one you would like to speak?
The son was a rebel actually. The son was definitely the rebel. So I would not. What should I say? I would not give him the name of the person who can be. Someone can actually. What should I say? I mean, he had his own mind, so he was definitely not one. But yes, definitely the mob, the people of the palace. They were also attuned to whatever the king wanted them to do, so they had no say. They were poor, so definitely under the complete mercy of the king. So even though it was good or bad, whatever it was, they had no say completely. So I feel that way, that the king as well as the entire people of the palace or the kingdom, the entire what do you call it? The citizens or the people of the Thank you. Yeah, that is my inference.
Anyone else would like to speak on the two snake charmers? Who are the snake charmers? How, when, where, what? We are asking questions. All this 4W, 5W, and 1H. Otherwise, we'll all be unconscious. We'll all remain unconscious. We need to come back. Yeah. Any interesting point of view regarding these snake charmers?
I think the boy who's supposed to be a rebel, he has a similarities to the famous charmer who just took all his Pied Piper.
Pied Piper.
Yeah.
Okay, Pied Piper
Pied
of
Piper.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting. That is an
That
interesting.
thing. See, actually, he's rebelling against the kingdom.
That's
It's a
interesting.
similar kind of rebellion that is going on. That is
Yes,
what
yes.
he was trying to make an exhibit in the using the instrument and
Yeah,
playing it around. And
that's interesting.
actually, uh, uh, that really charmed the king himself,
Yes, yes,
and that's how he came out of some entanglement, and he finally realized the situation and allowed the boy into the
yes,
in good terms.
yes,
So
yes, yes. So yeah,
it relates to new generation which can do something about the whole situation in
system.
the
Okay.
system.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Is there
Thank you.
anyone else who would like to speak about two snake charmers, especially on the title specifically? Okay, let's move to maybe next. We are dissecting that question further. Um, where is the snake? What is the snake? Why the snake charmer? What? Can you speak about the snake here? Yes.
The snake, sir, Ajit, can I speak again?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I'm taking more of the advantage.
No, no, no,
I think the
not
snake
at
is the
all.
mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Because,
Please.
yeah, yeah. So that's, according to me, the snake is the mind, the people, because the king is actually governing not only the physical state of the people of the kingdom. He's also
Okay.
taking hold completely the mindset of the people. So for me, it is here it has a very evilish connotation. Snake
Yes, yes.
has two different connotations. It's a very beautiful creature as well as it is deadly, right? So
Yes,
we are
yes.
scared of snakes. We are apprehensive of snakes, and I am really, really phobic. Even if I see a picture, I'm very scared of snakes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
here,
Me
I
too.
think it is in the mind. So the
Yes.
poison, the toxic concept of ruling. As a
Hmm.
ruler, you should not be ruling in that manner. That was like a dictator, right? We
So
don't like Hitler
is
at
the
all.
snake
So I could actually resonate.
physically is the snake
No,
the ruler's mind or
yeah, ruler's mind, definitely. So it was just this, as if the snake is biting and the poison, the venom is going through all the mindset of the people. So I could see that
okay.
way. I could imagine it that way. So
Okay.
yeah, it was the ruler was the poisonous snake, and the ruler everyone was bitten. Everyone was under him, like they were like hypnotized. So it was
Yeah.
a very poisonous, toxic environment. Very,
Yeah,
very
it's a
poisonous.
very
Yeah.
important word that you've used, ma'am, hypnotized, because this is something very important we should consider in the whole story. Needless to say, the whole mass was hypnotized. And
Yeah,
of course, needless to say, the
lost their
hypnotizer.
mindset, actually lost their logical thinking and all. Yeah,
Yeah,
they completely lost their logical thinking.
yeah.
So some
The
kind of
hypnotizer is none other than the king. Very, very
yes, yes, yes.
evident. Yeah. Kirsten, would you like to say something?
Well, it's a very interesting story. Thank you, Ajit. To be quite honest with you, I think that the snake is more of a representation of dictatorship.
Okay.
People, I think it's a metaphorical snake because,
Yeah, of course.
people, here's this rebellious boy where he's probably got quite a lot of other siblings, where his father was more than likely not present in his life.
Yes.
So I think that he's a very misunderstood prince, and that, our old traditional ways of thinking basically, it doesn't give us the opportunity to actually get to know our children. And I think that this story teaches us that we need to be present. We need to be open to actually getting to know people before making judgment on them.
Okay.
So I think that
Does
the mindset.
Does the story give any cues or clues towards how we can be so, as you said?
Well, the king sent his son away. We know what to do. However, the prince was forgiving enough to come back. He could have turned around and said, well, my father kicked me out. I don't care if he lives or dies. He could have been ruthless as his father was. And there it teaches us forgiveness, and it teaches us that we don't always know what we're doing. That sometimes we have to listen to the younger. It takes all sorts of different types of mindsets and personalities and psychologies to make the world go round.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak about? It's not just the question, beyond the question, like the story has lot of hidden treasures. This is like a terrain. This is like that Egyptian, what you call that pyramid. If you dig in, if you just get the code, there are so many treasures. The story encodes. Stories are like that. All stories, of course, even the stories and the rhymes that we study in our youngest of the youngest ages. These all code a lot of wisdom, lot of a treasure of wisdom. It encodes. So probably with our logical mind, when we approach, the best way to decode this is by asking, by questioning. So questioning is again another art which we need to probably learn very systematically. We need to question probably because questions are all of different hierarchies. So we need to choose, because this is like these are like spanners, pliers. Questions are like tools. So we need to take the correct specification and ask. While asking the question, we need to be very specific about what kind of question, which again requires a lot of skill. Anybody else, or else I would say, if no one says, it's like I thought that many people will speak. We live in our thoughts. We live in
Ajit,
our expectation.
Ajit,
Yes, sir.
again, the snake just denotes the chaos in the country.
Snake denotes the chaos in the country. Okay,
country.
interesting, sir.
Yeah. So that has to be elevated, and the princess is there, and he's charming, and he's trying to make a peaceful situation in the country.
Okay.
And finally, the king can understand that, and he is allowing him to be part of the country, and that's how just as the peace is coming back into the system. So the snake very much denote chaos in the country.
Okay,
I
beautiful.
feel like.
That's a beautiful observation. Chaos in the country, in the sense the chaos when it was ruled by the king, decided by the king, or there were two types of chaos. Possibly there was a chaos when this prince returned, of course.
Yeah. I mean, all the time it was there. When the king, the princess went out, and the people wanted the princess to come back, and when the princess came, finally the king was in a dilemma to receive him, and the charming ways of the princess finally makes the situation calm. That's what I mean.
That is very intriguing.
Yeah. I
Thank you,
mean,
sir.
that connotations can also be always there.
Possible, yeah, of course. Any other perspectives? Prema. I mean, it's very bad. I called Prema. Okay. So should I say then? Okay, I'll tell my reflection. It's Of course, when it comes to a story, it is story is multi-dimensional in nature because it is beyond the space-time. It has no specific, longitude and latitude. It has no specific timeline which I have ever specified. That long ago can be anything. It is upon our assumption. My long ago may be different for you. So it is completely out of this space-time dimension. That means it will be completely out of the four dimensions, which Einstein's four dimension, x, y, z, and t. And if we go beyond, it is multi-dimensional. It is n-dimensional. And stories represent our mind, of course. This story, including any story, any fairy tale or anything of that sort, it is again a snapshot. It is an X-ray of our mind. I would personally prefer to say so. It's a scan report of our mind. It's a scan slide of our mind. It's a sort of MRI slide of our mind, which is purely unconscious, which we discussed in the start. And when it comes to this particular stories, two snake charmers, I would like to give a brief introduction on human brain. Is there any psychology people here? Probably you would better resonate and you can better speak about this thing. I thought that you will speak, but then I'm forced to speak. Anyways, we have got a reptilian brain. You might have heard of this concept of reptilian brain. Anyone could probably brief about a reptilian brain? We are all like snakes. Our basic preferences are flight or fright. Fright or flight. Or to a larger extent, it can be flight, fright, fight. Sorry, not fright. Fight or flight or freeze or fall. See, same like snakes. When they meet with any stimulus which is very dangerous, they think. How they respond, that's how we respond. Our brain respond. Our brain is reptilian. If you remove the whole structure of your brain, including this one, what you call that our brain is like the it's in the shape of a cobra, I would say, with this cerebellum, medulla oblongata, and I'm very bad in these things. This is not my subject at all, so I might make some mistakes. Of course, please excuse that, but try to imagine what I'm trying to say. And it is shaped like it is perfectly shaped like with our sushumna, we call it, with our spine. It is perfectly shaped like a snake. And we have our brains have the finest of the finest features of snakes. And coming to the story, the mob, I've been observing the mob in a straight line, like how the military operates, how they flash or how they march, or how the corporate sometimes define their employees, or how I'm a teacher, so I can get a better example. How we put students in uniforms, how we tune people to be uniform, to take away that uniqueness, to make them so uniform. That particular line, that linear thinking, that line represents a lot of thinking that we possess, that Nati believes that we possess. So this particular line, the whole kingdom was in a line. They were all in a linear thinking. Linear thinking is very much in line with the time. Why did it happen? What will it happen? What will it lead to? Where you forget, where am I? What am I? What this? We are inside. We are inside this time, the ocean of time. A fish will never recognize what is water without being removed from water. Likewise, we are in the sea, we are in the ocean of time. We'll never recognize what is this time, what is this is Fanta, what time is all about. So we are in that line, that timeline, and we are bound to think. And this is the snake here, probably. That's how I see the snake here. This mob, this collective, conscious, I don't call it collective unconscious, collective consciousness of the people of the kingdom, which has been charmed initially by how ma'am was saying, initially they were easily being charmed by the king, who decides what they should eat, what they should wear. And we need to identify who are our emperors, who are our sultans. Are they the corporates? Are they the governments? Are they the religious leaders? Who all are our emperors? Who decides for us what we are and what we be and how we be? So we are all snakes. We are all like, if we see the snake as this particular spine, we are all each vertebra of this invertebrate, if I would say so. So this is a snake, and snake has been charmed beautifully by these two lads, one being the prince and other being the friend. So both of them pair snake charmers here. Charming the snake means perishing the snake. Charming the snake doesn't mean you are, making the snake dance, but to kill the snake, but to destroy the snakity or snakeism, or that snakeness. That's what these two lads were doing. Needless to say, needless to speak more about this prince, how he was and how he is. So he broke the whole, not just into parts. He broke the whole system into individual, unique identity, into beings which represents the whole, like the cells, each and every cells that represents us, but they are unique. They can multiply, and if determined, they can harm our body to an extent where they can kill the body. That powerful they are. So this is not actually that separation happens, but rather realization. These snake charmers made them realized, made the mob realize we are not a mob, we are individuals, we are unique humans. And with that, two snake charmers, this particular name suffice, I think, this title. And if you speak more about this, there is some water, there's a connotation for water. He was actually getting fresh water for the people where he went. Fresh water has got a lot of significance. Fresh water is one of the beautiful most beautiful metaphor in this. There could be other metaphors, like the musical instrument is again a metaphor. Singing, stories, these are metaphors. How the songs and stories, how it kindles our imagination and creativity and to make us think beyond the thoughts that we possess. What we beautifully say, my thought, is not my thought at all. It is all borrowed. It is all, I have to give it back to someone. If there is a business in the thought, it's borrowed. With interest, I have to pay it back. What is actually the real thought of mine, from where it comes, what is my center? So it takes to a different dimension, that story. So if we speak, there'll be a lot to speak about. Prema, I think we are running out of time also. So probably this much of reflection I have. If there is anybody who would like to speak again, please, before closing.
Yeah, I think Ajit, thank you very much for sharing your story and also the symbolic meanings and the metaphorical interpretations. I think it was insightful. I was trying to connect a little bit and also trying to reflect on my own, but I don't have anything much to say at this point. I'm sorry about that. But I mean, I'm just getting just soaking in the moment, watching everyone share. And I think, like what Ajit has also shared, I think we can, if there's any other thoughts, reflections you have based on this story, please feel free to share so that we can, build on each other and have more learnings in that sense. Thank you, Ajit, for doing all that work.
Thank you. I think Kirsten has raised her hand. Would you like to speak,
yes.
Kirsten? Yeah, please.
Another interesting thought that popped into my mind is that you mentioned flowing water or fresh water, and in order for water to stay fresh, it needs to be flowing. It needs to be moving all the time, else it stagnates and it starts to smell and it becomes rotten. And, the king kept doing the same things over and over and over again over a number of years, and it may have worked at a particular time in history, but it shows us that, like you said, we are all unique. We have to keep on moving, or else we are going to stagnate and just not even be, but we'll rot. So, we need to be able to keep moving forward to remain fresh, if that makes any sense.
Yes, very much. Thank you, Kirsten. Very true, very true, very true. What you said is absolutely true. We are much more beautiful than what we think. We are awesome. We, in the sense, each of us, need not be together deep inside us. We are wonderful, awesome. Let's cut those cords which are actually deciding what we are, how we are, when we are, where we are, who we are. And let's search for that plug where we are really plugged in. Let's search that source. I don't know who has that source code. Yes.
Can I speak?
Yes, please.
So I want to just reiterate what Kristen just said. I completely agree with her that yes, water is it's a very beautiful connotation, and it was a positive connotation here when we are talking about snake and poison. So water is it is a symbolic to life, right? So yes, definitely it is still water, it is stagnated water. So just like she represented that the king, the ruler was stagnated in a stagnated position, right? The same thing, same people. So if in order to not only sustain, to thrive in life, I think we need a flow, just like water flows and it is fresh water. It is that water we need for life, right? That is the natural, what should I say? The best, that brings life. That gives us life, not the stagnated water. We don't want that. So similarly, we have to be progressive in mind and we have to change accordingly. So that was missing on part of the king. The king was a leader as well as a father. So he actually was a complete failure as a leader as well as a father.
Sorry.
I infer that. Because
I just say there's a small thing which I need to say. This is actually how we generally think. We get into a judgment regarding the king, whether he did right or wrong. That is actually beyond question. That what he did is.
But sir, since he's the leader, I think a leader is a person whom we look up to. So a leader is a role model to some extent. So when you become a leader, people are going to look up to you. I'm not talking about the commoners. I'm not talking about the people. I'm talking about the king. So with all due respect to your thoughts, I think as a leader, you should have certain amount of what should I say? The qualities of a leader which was missing in this particular person. Hence, I am inferring. But yes, of course, I'm not judgmental at all. I'm talking about the character of this person. Since he was a leader, there was certain expectation from him which was missing. So he couldn't have. I don't think that is the right way of treating people, right? So they are the role model. So hence he was missing, and as well as the father also. I think the main bond between the child and the father was missing, which again rightly was mentioned earlier by one of our friends, right? So
Yes.
we don't, if as a father or a parent, any parent, even if it is not even a biological parent, any one of us, so we should have the bonding, which was completely miss. We couldn't see the bonding between the father and the son. That was so unfortunate, right?
Of course,
So
of
this
course.
is, yeah, completely my inference as an English teacher, as an educator. We always give preference to everyone's inferences. So everything
Yes.
is right. So I think I'm also right. Everyone is right. So yeah, it
Everyone
is
are
just
right.
my
Everyone
thought
are right.
process. Yeah,
Right.
you
What you
have
said
full
is
right.
absolutely correct.
Yes, yes.
They are
So
right.
we
We
are
think
not
that only
judgmental.
one
I'm
right
just
is there. There are so many
voicing my
rights.
thoughts. I hope you all. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you so
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you so much.
I'm
Ajit, this is a wonderful sharing from Kristen, Rumi, Prema, and all. I mean, it cannot be stopped just like that. We have just touched the thing. It opens up a lot of discussion now. Anyway, the time limit is putting
Exactly.
you down there.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
I mean,
Wonderful session.
these stories are meant for our transformation. These stories, actually, what happens is that it goes deep inside us. It's like a seed for our transformation. It can surely. I mean, I'm with a lot of confidence. I can say that. I cannot confidently present a story, but I can confidently say that. Be it any fairy tale or any story, it can transform us. Be it written by anyone, because everyone, this comes from that center of creativity, this comes from that center of creativity, who wrote, or from where it come, from which country it came, or from which tradition, or in which language it came, which we are actually, our consciousness is so bothered about that thing. Much beyond that, much beyond that, that center of creativity, which is beyond the scope of our time space dimensions. And these stories connect us to that center, that particular center. And being connected with that center is probably the greatest virtue a human being can have, because at that level we are all not separated, inseparable. We are at that level of creativity, we are inseparable, because we are all entangled, we are, because our cells, our beliefs, beyond all these things, our essence is entangled in that level. From there it originates, maybe like from where the world originated. Scientists are doing a study now, maybe of those kind. So it comes from that unconscious realm, which we need not be bothered about where it is, what it is. We need to just connect it with that. It's actually a feeling of uh, greatest of the greatest joy, and that enjoyment, that joy is what these stories give me personally, and that joy is so transformative.
Thank you. Thank you.
yes,
Thank you, Prema,
this
for this
much.
wonderful
So I
opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing this. I think stories have certain qualities, right? So one is a breather, just like a breather, it's a stress relief. Some other stories, they teach us skill sets. It's a transition, right? It's a transition.
Yes.
So I think this was again a story which was the second type. It was a little bit of self-reflection, a little bit of transition where I am a mother, so I would rethink again that am I been a little bit of low, am I treating my son properly, am I like, it gives me chance to again question myself, listening to your story, that am I okay as a mother, am I not a bad mother or something like that, right? As a parent,
I mean, we
just
are all
suggesting,
okay.
because I will
We are
definitely not
okay.
want
Whatever
my
you do
son to
is
drift away from
okay.
me.
I mean, Rumi, Miss Rumi, whatever we are doing is okay.
No,
Just accept
it,
our doing, uh, and connect it with our being. I feel like, what it's not like we cannot.
no, I do accept it. No, no, sir, I do accept. I'm just saying it's a self
Hmm.
introspection. I
Yes, yes,
introspect,
yes.
like listening to your story. That
Okay, okay, okay.
did I transit? Okay, so it's just a introspection. So thank you for helping
Yes,
me.
yes,
Yeah, thank
yes.
you so much. It was lovely.
Thank you so much,
It's
ma'am,
lovely, and
for interacting. More importantly, for interacting. Uh, And Prema, if things are fine, maybe we can plan a
uh,
few other stories in that book, in the same book.
Miss Prema,
Maybe
I'm
sometime
a big
else.
talker, I speak a lot. I think I spoke most of the time. I
It's
speak a
fine,
lot.
ma'am.
So
We
I'm
need to
really
speak
sorry
well.
for
No
that.
worries.
No
No
worries.
worries. Yeah, no worries. I think it's
Someone
a
has to speak. Thank
No,
you, ma'am.
I always speak.
It's fine. It's fine.
So I'm really sorry.
no problems. No, not at all.
Thank you, Prema. Thank you so much.
No problems. Is there anything else that I think, Ajit, you want to leave with us? Any other reflections you want us to think, or any other things you want us to follow up on from here?
These actually stories. What I would say is that probably we take in stories, these sort of stories. Maybe we can plan probably a series like this. It can be made a series, not necessarily from this book only. Maybe a story series if we could plan. So it is not easy to gel everything, put everything together in one story and discuss in one session. And of course, it is time bound. So I personally feel like if we have a series of say seven, it's not necessarily that I present. Whoever can present their stories. I mean, they're not their stories. Of course, these sort of stories which are very deep in nature. Then we can make it a very transformative experience. It's as a suggestion I'm just putting forward.
Sure.
But
Thanks.
reflections, I know it takes a lot of time again, and that's why if we
Mm.
reflect on this story, then again we can continue for another 3 hours. There is whole lot to discuss about this story.
Yeah, please feel free to send your thoughts and reflections to Ajit since you're all in touch. And on our end, if there's any more
Yeah,
reflections, we'll just float it up to Ajit
yeah,
as
it would be
well.
great thing. It would be great.
Yeah, and I think Ajit, thanks for reminding that stories are reflections of our lives, and also narratives are very healing. So I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we heal through stories,
Hmm.
and it's a symbolic representation of different experiences we have in life. So yeah, thanks for giving that opportunity for healing to happen for some of us. If some themes connected with us, and some aspects of the stories connected with us. So yeah, thanks for the different experience, because in our groups we've been sharing a lot of self-help, autobiography kind of books. So
Yeah,
it's a different kind of experience and exposure to kind of learn how to connect with fiction and non-fiction. So nice, nice try, I must say. Thank you so much for doing this for us, and everyone else also for joining.
thank you.
Yeah, we're actually a very informal group of friends. So we didn't have regular activities. So we're very grateful to have this today. Just feel free to make your suggestions, and yeah, we'll take it on from here and see what can work out from here. Yeah,
Yes,
so I'll
that
just
would be
keep
great.
things tentative for now.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank
Great
you
thing.
so much, Ajit.
Welcome,
Yeah,
welcome, Prema.
I
Thanks
I just
everyone.
want to say for the last time, thank you so much, all of you, and I would want to connect again for sure.
Ah, sure.
Lovely
Thank you.
people out there.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
thank you,
Ajit. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
Ajit.
you.
And everyone. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Everyone.
you.
I could see RK sir
Yeah,
also
yeah.
joined. Thank you, RK sir. RK sir, are you there? So happy to see you. Hema, all of you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ajit. This is the first time I really did not want to, I was a little hesitant to express my feeling about how I felt hearing the story, but I think it's a extremely nice platform. Maybe if I get used to hearing another one or two stories, maybe I'll also speak up.
Sure, sure, sure. You can even plan a
But I
story.
felt extremely nice to be a part of this group.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for joining.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
Bye.